New reporting is raising questions about Saudi Arabia and its ties to American Media Inc., the publisher of the National Enquirer. According to the Wall Street Journal, AMI asked the Justice Department about whether they needed to register as a foreign agent following the publication of a magazine promoting Saudi Arabia. A letter from the Justice Department that appears to describe AMI determined that the organization did not have an obligation to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Let's bring in Rebecca Roiphe. She's a CBSN legal contributor and former assistant district attorney for the New York County District Attorney's Office. Rebecca, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Help us understand this. Why would an organization like AMI actually need to reach out to the Justice Department about registering as a foreign agent?
Well, I mean, that's the key question.
Yeah.
Why would they? The Foreign Agents Registration Act has an exception for media, journalists, and as long as you're not acting under the direction of a foreign country, then you're a legitimate news organization and you have nothing to worry about. So the fact that they've reached out and asked this question raises a few red flags with people. Why? And especially why after the recent news about AMI's letter to Jeff Bezos threatening releasing those photographs and texts of his mistress. So in Jeff Bezos's blog post, he wrote, among other things, and there's the Saudi angle.
Right.
So there's a
Very cryptic.
cryptic, but he had that investigator out there, and part of what AMI wanted him to stop was call that investigator off. So what was the investigator going to find out? Was it something about his connection to Saudi Arabia, about the organization's connection to Saudi Arabia? Behind that question, of course, is AMI an independent organization, or is it just a shill for the president? Because there have also been a lot of questions raised about President Trump's connection with Saudi Arabia. He's been oddly quiet, reluctant to condemn the country after the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and people have wondered why. So all of those are loose ends. I don't know that they connect. Maybe they don't, but they do seem an odd coincidence.
So let me ask you about this letter. What are some of the key takeaways from the letter that the Justice Department, from the Justice Department that appears to actually describe AMI?
Yeah. So the main thing to notice about that letter is its qualification. So the letter gives this advice, as you said at the beginning of this segment, that they don't have to register. But then it qualifies and says this advice is dependent on the facts that you gave us being true. Because obviously it all depends on how AMI represented it. And AMI said this was an independent investigation, a journalistic endeavor, not something that the Saudi Arabian country or any agent of the Saudi Arabian country controlled. If that is not true, then the advice doesn't hold.
So we should note that Saudi Arabia's foreign affairs minister denied that the country had anything to do with those leaked photos of Jeff Bezos. But what questions does this Wall Street Journal reporting raise for you about a possible relationship here between AMI and Saudi Arabia?
Well, I just think it's very coincidental because why AMI was under a cooperation agreement with the Southern District of New York. By issuing that letter or threat, as one would normally see it, they were jeopardizing that agreement and exposing themselves, Pecker and the organization, to criminal liability. So there had to be a real incentive to do that. What was Jeff Bezos onto that they were so scared was going to come out? Because why else would they jeopardize that agreement? So
very much an open question at this point.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
the Saudi connection is a potential answer. It could be something else, but it's out there remaining as a possible answer.
All right. So in the last minute or so that we have left, I want to ask you about former White House communications aide Cliff Sims. He's suing the president essentially over a non-disclosure agreement that he signed while working at the White House. Now, Sims is the author of this new tell-all book about his time working for the administration. Walk us through, Rebecca, some of the arguments here and some of the issues he might face as he makes his case.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is sort of the president's MO. He likes to control the narrative about himself. He doesn't like negative things and he likes positive things. As a private individual, you can do that. If you have a lot of money, you can enter into agreements with people and try to control the narrative about yourself with your money. Once you become president, you cannot do that because people have First Amendment rights. And if a state actor interferes with those First Amendment rights, then they have a cause of action. And that's his claim. This non-disclosure agreement technically is being enforced by the president's campaign. But what he's saying is that's just total subterfuge. Essentially, that campaign is just a stand-in for the president. And therefore, that is an interference with his First Amendment rights. He's allowed, as an employee, a federal employee, a governmental employee, has First Amendment rights, and he's allowed to go forth with his story of what happened while he was working in the government.
All right, we'll continue to watch it. Rebecca Roiphe, always great to have you. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.